To the Balloon Party with Tim McKernan live from the Car Shield Studio on 101 ESPN.
I'm fascinated by the idea that we're right back to a show that's just starting. We can't get one other piece of imaging in there that's like, this is the beginning of the balloon party, and now we're back to it, at 25 after. No, every time I listen, I'm like, it's like just one long carryover. Like, well, 24 hours ago, the show ended, and now here we are. We're back. It's like a never-ending show. Anyway, welcome in. I'm Josh.
It makes sense.
It does? What?
Yeah, I think it makes sense, yeah.
What I said, or the fact that, the show just never ends?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's like the never-ending story.
It's because Tim and Jackson are literally just coming off a break and just going into a different show. For them, it's just a fourth hour of radio.
I understand.
So it's just the same show.
It's just fascinating is all. Like, I listen, I'm like, we're right back to it. To me, you can spin it however you want. It's just that Tommy's too lazy to get one other piece of imaging done for the stage. I think that's what it is.
Tommy's who you have to blame.
Ryder then. Ryder's too lazy to put something together.
Jack.
It's on Jack. So that's how this works?
No,
okay.
It's a rotator.
Oh, okay. I'm just saying, you could have one big balls open that's like, hey, it's balloon party, starts now.
That's not really how Tim does.
Oh, I understand.
His shows.
Listen, I sat in here for an hour, and I listen to them virtually every day. It's not big ball, and that sounds terrible because I'm not criticizing him, but it's more of a low key. That's why when I come in here, people hate my guts because, I come in here and I'm not low key. I cannot be low key. I don't understand the concept of being low key. It's just not how I am. But what's funny is I walk around the building. I'm very docile. I'm a low-key individual. I just walk around. Like, if someone says hi to me, I'll say hi. Otherwise, I don't, go out of my way to be like, good day, sir. Cheerio. Top of the morning to you. Top of the hour to you on the Cardinals radio network.
I think people would appreciate if you said top of the morning to you.
And doff my cap.
Your cap, exactly.
If I doffed, but I just don't do that. I am someone, if you talk to me, I'll talk to you. Unless you're someone who's important, then I'll bother you all day. I'll bother Tommy all day, and I'll bother John Kioski all day.
They got nothing to do.
But other than that, if somebody wants to talk to me, I will gladly converse. People think I just walk around and I'm like, watch this. I really don't. I try to just keep to myself. That's why some people have called me aloof in my day, and it's something I've had to work on. I'm not aloof. I'm just kind of an introvert when I'm not around a microphone. Then a microphone is around me, and just instantly, a light goes off, and I can't be docile. I'm excited. I'm on the radio. I'm talking to great sports fans. I'm talking about a baseball team that I love, the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm talking about things I enjoy, like smoking meat and locker room dongs and everything else I've talked about the times I filled in here, and it excites me. See, that's what happens here, is I get on the radio, and I'm excited. Is there something wrong with that? Is that a problem that a boy likes to get on the radio? I've been doing this. It should excite you that I'm excited to do it, considering that I've been doing it for 20-something years, but I still get a charge every time I do it.
I have a little issue with you referring to yourself as a boy.
I'm a boy. I'm just a boy.
That part weirds me out a little bit.
Relative to the relics that are on the radio in town around here, I'm a child.
The people react to excitement in weird ways, because usually your reaction is, whoa, it's not that big of a deal, or no one else cares as much as you do. And it's like, yeah, but that's not, I don't really care what other people's reaction is. This is just me living life. And that's why I actually thought that the passing of the great Bill Walton was so fascinating to me over the weekend, because all I could think about was that reaction that people have to people getting excited.
Yeah.
And then I thought about Bill Walton, and I thought, who was a better just stalwart against the idea of, why can't I just be randomly super excited about the most mundane things that make me excited? Because that was Bill Walton in a nutshell. The man didn't care if you cared that he was excited about something. He was going to explain to you why the glee in his body was so much that he had to get it out.
But here's the problem I have with people talking about the death of Bill Walton, is they're all frauds. Because every time Bill Walton's on a Pac-12 tournament game at 11 p.m. on a Thursday in Las Vegas, he's great, but everybody craps on him on the internet. What is Bill Walton talking?
And that's my thing, is people didn't but the people
they're frauds, but then he dies, and everybody's like, oh my God, I'm going to miss Bill Walton's witticisms. Oh, here's my favorite 10 Bill Walton moments of the Pac-12 tournament. You're all frauds. That's the problem I have with people. Honestly, I look forward to death. There, I said it. Because when I die, everyone's going to like me.
Okay, yeah, that's a good way to look at it.
Look, that sounds dark, but it's true. When Chad Kroeger of Nickelback dies, everybody loves Nickelback. Every single person, not just
fairness,
me, who genuinely loves Nickelback. It will be like, oh, I love Nickelback. Ali Marmal dies. You know what's going to happen? Oh, he had a couple of bad breaks. But, God, he was such a good guy. I love them. Remember when he got thrown out in that game against Milwaukee and we won 10-12? God, he was a Cardinal. He bled Cardinal red.
Nickelback and Creed are different because they've had a weird popular resurgence over the last year where it's like everyone crapped on them for like two solid decades. And now everyone's like, you know what? We don't get good bands like Creed and Nickelback anymore.
It's fascinating how that works.
Which the phrase makes me want to stab myself in the ear, but still.
You don't like Nickelback or Creed?
I'm fine with it. The fact that people are set now saying, well, we don't get good music anymore, so that's why we now have to appreciate Creed and Nickelback more, which are like, they were fine, but like you crapped on them in 2004, and now you're saying that they're great because it's 20 years ago.
Well, that's how I feel about everybody
nostalgia's useless at times.
Who craps on something until something, and then they love it. That's my point. Like Bill Walton said something, I think it might have been at last year's Pac-12 tournament. Maybe been 2 years ago, and one of the dudes from like UCLA or somebody hits a three. There's like 2 minutes to go. Guy's like bleeding. He hits a three, and he goes, hits the three, wipes off the blood. Jimmy Buffett, next door, son of a sailor.
That is amazing.
And it was the greatest thing I've ever heard somebody in the middle of a random basketball game do. He goes, son of a sailor. And I go, God, this is perfect. But then you go to the internet and everybody craps on Bill Walton. They hate Bill Walton. And then like the guy dies, and then it's like, oh my God, Bill Walton is the greatest ever. Let's go watch the 30 for 30 about Bill Walton. And I'm not telling you to not appreciate Bill Walton. This is not a criticism of Bill Walton, who I enjoy very much with his weird
about the hypocrites.
I'm talking about hypocrites, and we are loaded with hypocrites. It's like these Cardinal fans who 2 weeks ago wanted to fire everybody, and now if you say, hey, let's give it a little bit more time, they're like, hey, a-hole, get out of my city. What are you talking about? No, do you not remember 2006? Do you not remember 2011? Yeah, I remember like guys like Albert Pujols were on those teams. Whatever, but okay. Yeah, you know what? You don't get it. We're hot right now. Are we back? I see that on Twitter. Every time a Cardinal gets a hit, are we back? Are we back? Like, I'm with you with being excited. My God, 2 weeks ago, I had no desire to watch the Cardinals. I had no interest. I would deliberately avoid the games. I openly rooted against them. I wanted them to lose and blow the thing up and have anarchy. That's what I wanted. That's what I desired. So I am like you to a degree, that I'm a diehard fan like you, but I'm a little bit more pragmatic than some of you on social media who have gone from 0 to 100 real quick, friends. So here's what I would say. Let's look at where the Cardinals are right now. The Cardinals are 5 games out of first presently. And what are they, like a half a game out of the wild card? Whatever. There's 8 wild cards. Are you really good if you make like the 3rd wild card? Like that exists to keep. Sadly, you know why the 3rd wild card exists? To keep loser teams' fan bases like us interested. Like we're the Pirates now, by the way. We're the Reds now. We're excited about the 3rd wild card.
Still half a game out of the 3rd spot behind the Padres.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bob Costas on you for a second. Bob Costas wrote a book many years ago called Fair Ball, I think is what it was called. It was really a pamphlet. It had like 11 pages. And it was basically just like his manifesto to be the commissioner of baseball because somebody decided 100 years ago that Bob Costas should be the commissioner of baseball because he tips batting averages, so he should be the commissioner.
You said he wrote it a few years ago?
It's like 30 years old.
Yeah, it was published in 2000.
Yeah, it's an old book. And on the cover, he's standing there in like a sport jacket, throwing a baseball in the air and catching it. It's like, hey guys, it's me, Bob Costas. When I take a break from halftime rants about gun control, I want to be the commissioner of baseball. Let's talk about how the wild card is the death of the sport. And I read this book when I was like 10 years old or 11 years old. I was like, this is the greatest book ever. But anyway, it's not to bag on Bob Costas, who would not like me. I know he wouldn't, and that's fine. But like, Bob Costas is what he is. But the point being in all of this is Costas's point many years ago is that there are too many wild cards. Like just adding 1 wild card waters down the regular season. He wasn't wrong there. It did. Now have 11 wild cards and the regular season means very little. Really, what that wild card does, that like bottom tier wild card, especially if you're not a good team, like right now, a marginal team's going to win that wild card. It's not like a year where there's 5 great teams and like everybody's got 100 wins and it's like a real battle. There's going to be a Cardinals type team that gets that wild card. And good. Get it. Get in and see what happens. happens. But like my problem with people is this last 2 weeks has turned people from everyone's got to be fired, Moselak's terrible, sell the team, Marmal's got to go. The word washed has been used for like 6 different players in the last since the start of the season. Goldschmidt is washed. Arenado is washed. Everybody's washed, right? And some guys are never will be's. Jordan Walker's a never will be. All these guys. But 2 weeks of good baseball, and now don't let Arenado get hot. Don't let him get hot. 2 weeks of good baseball, and it's, whoa, Goldie's back. Extension? Question mark, exclamation point? So I'm just asking you, because it's a big 2 weeks. That's big, great 2 weeks. Here's a big week. Philadelphia's best baseball team in the league right now. And the Astros, despite their record, like we're bagging on the Astros because they're down. You have 3 more wins than the Astros. So let's not swing D's around today going, oh, well, I think we could take 2 out of 3 from the Astros. Look out. So be cautious is all I'm saying. We're talking about hypocrisies and fan hypocrisies, right? Dude, I'm a hypocrite like you guys. 2 weeks ago, I was out. I was done. I had no interest, wasn't watching the games. My wife would say, you want to turn on the Cardinals? I said, get your ass back in the kitchen and stop asking stupid questions. I told her that. I joke. My wife's a bad cook. But anyway, point being in all of this is that I understand you. I know where you're coming from. A friend of mine was listening to my fill-in the other day, and he goes, I've never heard you on the radio when you're a fan of the team. I go, I know, usually I'm not. I'm in a city that I don't know, and I'm just a sports guy. I am a legit fan of the Cardinals. I'm a passionate fan of the Cardinals. That's who I am. But when I see people in the comments, like 2 weeks ago, or let's go back to the beginning of the season, every move they made sucked, right? Like, I'm not wrong on this. Every move they made in terms of the rotation side, they got Sonny Gray. Even signing Sonny Gray, who now people are touting for Cy Young, when they signed Sonny Gray, the argument from most people was, yeah, but he's not even really an ace. I mean, they got a number 2. We still need to get an ace. They signed Lance Lynn. Oh, great, an old has-been. They signed Carpenter. Oh, great, an old has-been. Oh, Kyle Gibson, it never was. Now, all of a sudden, because you play good baseball for 2 weeks out of 7, now it's, guys, I believe in these guys. And if you question that, you're the jerk. If you use their same logic from 7 weeks ago on them, you're the jerk. If you say, well, why should I believe that Lance Lynn's going to hang on? Why wouldn't he? He's giving us like 5 1/3 every game. That's all we need out of him. He's an innings eater. Well, what about Kyle Gibson? Guy's like Cy Young right now. Palante. Dude, that's my favorite. Guy has one good game, and now it's, dude, if we can get 6 1/3 no-hit baseball out of Palante every game, we don't need a fifth starter.
That's not gonna happen. Here's why I'm worried about the Houston series, because Philadelphia, Michaelis versus Nola. I mean, they have Nola. I'm actually completely okay with burning Michaelis in that game. Why not? Michaelis, Gray, Lynn, I'm fine in that series. But the Houston series is looking like it's going to be Gibson, Michaelis, and then Palante in between those two. That's not 3 starters that I think you can pull a series win out of with. And I'm extremely nervous about that.
Probably not.
But you're giving up W's right now anytime it's the number 4 and the number 5. And here's the thing. In the order of things, Palante is technically number 4. Michaelis is the number 5. That's kind of how the order runs out. And you're just giving up wins every time there's a 4 and a 5 starter out there.
Now, it's a fruitless fight, my friends. All right, we'll do some more after this on 101 ESPN.
This is Action Jackson with a SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Last night in the NBA, the Mavericks defeat the Timberwolves 124-103. Dallas moves on, winning the series 4-1. They will face the Celtics in the NBA Finals. Also last night in the WNBA, the Seattle Storm defeat the Indiana Fever 103-88. That was another SportsCenter update brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
By the way, if you guys didn't rate my meat yesterday, you still can on my Instagram. Josh Ennis Show is how you follow me on the gram or follow me on Twitter. On Twitter, I just offer really hot Cardinals takes where I'm just kind of caught up and angry in the middle of it. So, like, I watch games and just get angry. But you can follow me there. A lot of people rated my meat yesterday, though. And I appreciate that. I mean, look, I'm going to show you again. I know that you looked at it yesterday, but that tri-tip right there is gorgeous.
Oh,
look at that.
It is a gorgeous tri-tip.
Look, that's a gorgeous tri-tip.
It's perfectly cooked.
Look, it's a beautiful piece of meat. Charred on the outside, good char. I can hold it up for the people to see on the camera here. Hold on, because I see them not just looking at my palm. You don't want to know where that palm's been.
No.
No, I'm kidding.
Massaging the meat.
Yeah, exactly. It's been rubbing my meat. Here we go. Let me hold this up for everybody. See, there you go. Let me go back a little bit. It's a little blurry.
I just want to point out,
that's
by the
beautiful
way,
meat. Go follow me on the gram.
On YouTube, your mom's boyfriend quoted, "Great troll job, guys. I hated it." And referring to Jackson's out of nowhere SportsCenter update. You guys are like, "Whoa, where did this guy come from?"
All right, read me some text. Let's see what people are talking about on the text. God, I sound like some old lady. Can you read me the texts? What? Please, read me the paper. Read my stories.
314. The wild card has created the theory of just get in, so teams don't strive to be good. They strive to be good enough.
Correct. Now, that can work.
Makes the deadline
There's
better.
nothing that the Cardinals can do that's going to, on paper, make them better than the Phillies, right? Or even, really, I know the Braves are different now because of Acuna's injury, but teams like that. It's fine that it gives you the idea that you're still in it, but there's nothing the Cardinals at this point can do. First of all, and this is going to be obvious, but they have to continue playing well, and they have to show people that they're a pretty good baseball team and that this is not just a 2-week spurt like we saw around the same time last year. But there's not a move the Cardinals can make that you'd go, look out for us, here come the birds. When I was in Houston, before they won in 2017, there was a big conversation about what you would give up to get like a Justin Verlander to put them over the top. Because there was a stretch like in August and September that people thought they weren't going to win. Even Dallas Keuchel bitched that they didn't make a move to get a better pitcher at the deadline to be in the rotation, all that stuff. And the debate was, what would you be willing to give up? And like guys like Kyle Tucker who were in the system and people like that, who would you be willing to give up? And at the time, I said I would have given up whatever you can to go get a Justin Verlander because I think you're in a position where one pitcher is going to be the difference between you winning and losing. Like I've heard people, and me and Ryder were talking about this the other day, that there are people saying things like, go trade away blank player and blank player, like hot prospect that you have to go try to make a push now. The Cardinals have shown me nothing other than 2 weeks of good baseball that leads me to believe they should be in the business of get rid of good, talented prospects to try to win now, because I don't believe that they are a World Series team now. Now, could you 06 it and 11 it? And who was it? They signed Jeff Weaver in 06. Jeff Weaver was really good for them down the stretch and in the playoffs. I talked to Jeff Luno about that when he was in Houston. I used to interview him every week on my radio show there. And basically all I would talk with him about is the 2006 and 2011 Cardinals. So I'd be like, you know, you guys could go out and sign blank pitcher, but when you were with the Cardinals, let us not forget that Jeff Weaver and Sidney Ponson are in 11 when, Edwin Jackson.
Marcus Epchinski.
Like, guys like that. Like, I'm not saying that that's the rule. That might be the exception. Like, would you rather go out and make a move to get Justin Verlander like the Astros did in 2017? Sure. But that team, that's another thing about that team. The 2017 Astros, the core of the lineup was young and basically in diapers and was going to be there for the next 4, 5, 6 years. That was Jose Altuve. That was Alex Bregman, who I think was in his second year at that point. That was second or third year Correa. Like, that's the 2, 3, and 4 guys in your lineup, the core of your lineup that was going to be there for the next 5 years. So if you're going to make a move to move on from some young prospect to bring in Verlander, who, by the way, pitched with them for another 4 or 5 years, whatever the number was, that's fine. When I look at the Cardinals lineup, how many guys do you see in their current lineup that you go, I think they're part of a core that's going to be good for the next 4 years, 5 years? First of all, none of them have proven they can be part of a lineup that's even good. That's number one. But, like, Wynn is obvious. Wynn's like your kind of cornerstone. Are you a Gorman guy?
Yeah. He's clearly got the chops. I mean, 860 OPS, 30 home runs last year. He's got the chops, and he's starting to hit again.
Yeah, but then as BK will tell you, in 2 weeks he won't hit for a month, but then he'll hit great for 4 weeks. Like, I get that's baseball now. I get that.
So we're also talking about a guy in the middle of his second full season. You have to. I mean, there's wiggle room of what a guy's going to be for I'd say the first 3 years before you can actually start saying, okay, this is who he is as a player.
Sure. All right. So if you're looking just to compare it to that Astros, though,
Gorman, I would say that a guy, Brendan Donovan, can be. Not the top guy, but he can be the 8th guy on a good team.
Correct. But if your world can survive if Brendan Donovan, if he doesn't have to be there. He's a nice player on a good team.
Yeah, but he's the guy you keep around for the next 4 or 5 years.
He's not a cornerstone. No. Who else is? I mean, people love Newt. The girls love Newt. They diddle their doodles over Newt.
If you do not care about the defensive side of things or just the base dealing side of things, Ivan Herrera is proving to be a weapon at the plate. And Contreras, but 4 years from now, that's the thing. You put the 4 or 5 year thing on it.
Yeah.
Now Contreras and Goldschmidt kind of get outside of that window. Arenado might still be inside of that window, but then again, I don't know about. The headspace when it comes to Arenado and how just like jacked up he is to be playing every day.
I don't view Arenado as a guy who is a long-term solution here. He's not a core player. I'm also not a believer in Walker. Now, I wouldn't say go trade Jordan Walker to go get some middling pitcher because you think you got a chance to win the wild card either. But, like, at what point do you start looking at guys who don't hit and say, like, at some point you got to hit? And maybe it's because we're spoiled and the game was different 20 years ago. But, like, Albert Pujols rolls, again, not fair. I get it. Albert Pujols is one of the 5 greatest hitters to ever play the game. But Albert Pujols comes in and he's just a beast from the jump. And that's an unfair comparison, but that's who we've had here. We've seen that, so we've watched it happen. Jordan Walker, for everything we've heard from the media people, is this guy is the next big thing. But yet every time he's here, he has some spurts and some moments, whether it's they tinker with his swing, which I think it's more of a them problem than him problem. Like, I don't think he sucks. I think they've effed with him to the point that he's broken mentally. I think they've broken some of these guys. And that's been proven.
Talking about the pitchers all of a sudden?
Everybody, right? But, like, Walker is like that. And I think you can say the same thing when you start talking about other guys that have gone on to other places and been successful. Why is Tyler O'Neill, look, he's not amazing.
He's also hurt again.
Correct. I would have gotten rid of him too. Like, I'm not saying keep him, but, like, why did he go on to do good things, or why did certain other guys go on to do good things? Are they breaking these guys mentally? Is their approach wrong? And the question is very fair. So I'm not writing off Walker, but, like, he's been sent down, and in the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, the offense has been better. He was a complete albatross in the middle of the lineup. So will he ever be that good? I don't look at Jordan Walker today and say in 5 years, I think he's a huge part of the lineup. Really, and I've seen people comment this, if you want to roll with Gorman because he's in his early 20s and he does show signs that he can play. Plays a decent second base. I mean, he'll commit some bad errors, but he's good enough at that position, especially when your shortstop is damn good and is going to save everything. So you're fine there. Really, Wynn and Gorman are the only 2 guys, and really Wynn, and maybe it's recency bias too, but I've seen no reason to believe, just his defense plays. With the defense, the Gold Glove defense he plays, he'll be here. I mean, hell, how many years did this organization give the Wizard of Kaz at second base, and he didn't play this good a defense, or shortstop rather. He didn't play this good a defense, nor could he hit at all.
We are kind of looking, I just think positivity that they could have a middle infield for 6 straight seasons, and it being...
When's the last time that happened?
I was going to say, I mean, we're talking about 2004. I mean, even then it was Tony Womack was at second base. He had Renteria.
How many years was Vigna here?
He was 98 through 03. I want to say like 6.
So maybe Vigna and Renteria? Because he got here in like 99, 2000, right?
Oh, man, it's only 4. It's only 2000. Yeah, I thought he got here in 98. Yeah, Vina was only 2000, 2003. So those 4 years for Vina. Womack gets here in 04.
It was Renteria 2000?
Renteria was here for a while. He was here for 5, 6 years.
I think that might be the last time you really... Because
Renteria was 99 through 04, so it would be 2000, 2003 is the last time you had
So Vina and Renteria.
maybe 4 straight years of a shortstop, second baseman combo. It's got to be the last time we went 4
Ozzie
years in a row.
Smith and Tom Herr.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No.
4 years in a row. It's got to be early 2000s because, I mean, you had the second base position was always changing. You had Ronnie Belliard in 06. Then you had Colton Wong was here for a while, but the shortstops were always changing.
I think Colton Wong.
It's back to Renteria and Vina.
I got a hot Colton Wong take. I think Colton Wong is the most underappreciated St. Louis Cardinal player maybe of the last 20 years.
Getting picked off in the World Series hurt him so much in the eyes of the fans.
I get that.
Yeah, people hated him for that, and you're right. But because of that, people never gave him the credit for what he was, which is a very good second baseman.
But let us not, and I know we got to take a break, but let us not forget that, if one thing breaks the other way, if they throw that ball away, he's a hero, right? Because that's why, was it Eckstein that laid down the bunt that was airmailed in the 06 World Series? You know what I'm saying? Or that ridiculous interference call in 2011, or 2013, rather. I know we didn't win the World Series that year, but in 2013, they tied the series or took the 2-1 lead at that point with the call at third. The Cardinals blew that game. They were gifted that game against Boston. So, I'm not going to hold it against Colton Wong, who, how many years did he play here? Was here a decade? Damn near a decade? He had some big-time home. I think he was. I think he was here about a decade. Damn near.
8 years.
And by the way, he was part of the last pretty good teams they had.
True.
And he had big home runs in some of those series, big moments, and his defense was spectacular. Colton Wong, I'm going to say, is one of the most underappreciated Cardinals of the last 10 years. So there. Suck on that. All right, we'll wrap it up after this on 101 ESPN. Getting sportsy today. See, I'm more than just a pretty face and dong talk. Every now and then I can pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Someone did say during the first segment that they were really excited to learn that you read things other than porn.
I don't really read
I was like,
porn.
it's like, you know how old Josh is? I don't think he's been reading a lot of the
You got a
mags.
stack of nudie
Yeah, come on
mags
now.
in your closet? No, I watch The Hub, bro.
But I joked at it.
But I have to watch it with subtitles because of my wife, so I guess I do read it.
All right, let's get into this text. 314. I was having this argument with a buddy of mine. Is Tommy Edman better than Colton Wong?
No.
He said he's on Wong's side.
No. I bet, again, I don't have the stats in front of me. But I bet if you threw them into a hopper, they're both pretty similar offensively. Although just off the top of my head, I feel like that Wong, just from watching both of them, I feel like Wong was a better power hitter. And I might be wrong on that, but I feel that. But how many Gold Gloves did Wong win?
Wong won two.
One?
Back-to-back second baseman with the Cardinals in 1920.
Yeah, well, there you go. Now, I'll give credit to Edman in that the guy can bounce around from position to position. Yep. Like, one of the more impressive things a Cardinal player has had to do in recent years is be a guy like Tommy Edman that has been thrust into playing center field, and he did a pretty good job when he did it.
Okay, so I'm looking at Colton Wong's career numbers, and I'm ignoring his last year in Seattle and LA where he got traded between
Just
the two.
give me the Cardinal
and he was
stats.
Terrible. But I'm just saying overall is I cannot believe Colton Wong's career slugging is actually lower than Tommy Edman's.
But, okay, but
It's almost the exact same, but the fact that it's lower is legitimately shocking to me.
But to me, the better gauge is look at them at their best, and then, because, I mean, your numbers are going to go down just because you play more baseball. I mean, Wong played 8 years here. Edman's been here for, 3, 4?
And that's fair. So if you look at the power middle 6 years of Wong's career, his last 4 years in St. Louis, and then his 2 years in Milwaukee, his slugging was a 414. His OPS plus was a 107, and he averaged 13 home runs per 162 in that stretch, which is almost identical to what Tommy Edman's been giving you the last 2 years.
So basically, you throw him into a hat, you feel like you can get the same guy, but the difference, of course, being that one guy won 2 Gold Gloves. Now, Gold Glove is also a voted on award, so that's subjective. Like, they're not ordained by God. I think when people hear about awards, you go, well, this guy's got 2 Gold Gloves. Yes, but it's not like there's some science that determines that. It's just a bunch of dudes that vote on these things, like old white dudes with pencils and, notepads that vote on people who win these awards. So they're subjective. But still, if you said, Josh, you could have one. You can have Tommy Edman or you can have Colton Wong. And this, I don't know how this argument even started, but here we are. I would take Colton Wong. I just think that there was a more there. And I saw someone comment that he was overhyped. Every player that comes into any sport is overhyped. Everyone. Unless a guy just appears out of nowhere. Like, there are guys like Derek Lively. Here's a basketball reference, and I know many of you probably don't even watch. But Derek Lively kind of comes out of nowhere.
Daniel Gafford?
And they just catch lobs from Luka. Derek Lively did not miss a shot from the field in the Western Conference Finals because all he did was dunked, but he had a moment, right? Do you remember a guy named Tyrus Thomas?
I'll never forget LSU star and way overdrafted. Could he do anything other than run and catch the ball and then dunk it?
Block shots.
Okay, fair point. That's on me.
So Tyrus Thomas was in high school around the same time I was in Baton Rouge. Oh, yeah. He went to McKinley High School right off the campus of LSU, and he was kind of a no-name guy. Like, I went to every LSU basketball game that year because I was a nerd and I was really into it. And I watched him play, and it all started with Midnight Madness. They did a Midnight Madness, and this dude's like dunking, like catching balls off the top of the backboard. Like, this guy might be a freak. Fast forward to the season, he's catching oops. He's like dunking, but no one in the world knows who he is other than LSU and SEC people. Fast forward to the conference, or rather to the NCAA tournament, okay? They go through and they play Iona in the first round, and they beat them. They play Texas A&M and beat them on the last shot of the game. Nobody cares. They go to the Sweet 16, and they play Duke. And Tyrus is catching oops, and he's blocking shots, and Reddick is crying, and LSU kicks their ass. There was another one of those white dudes from Duke that was on that team, too. I don't think it was Shire. It might have been John Shire. But LSU beat the hell out of those guys. Then they go to the Elite Eight and play LaMarcus Aldridge, and I think that Homeboy was on that team. Durant. I think Durant was on that team. And they play in the Elite Eight, and he's out there dunking and everything. He is literally a person who was created by 4 games he played in the NCAA tournament. Then he was drafted, I want to say, number 2 or number 3 by the Bulls.
3, I think, yeah.
That's a guy who's overhyped. Everybody's overhyped. Yeah. That's how it works.
He's one of the best examples.
Correct.
Everybody's
overhyped. And then when they're your guy, you overhype them even more. Jordan Walker is by definition, Jordan Walker is the most overhyped baseball player I have ever encountered with the St. Louis Cardinals in the last 25 years. If we're just looking at strictly who's overhyped and what they've done. Because Albert Pujols showed up out of nowhere. Anybody wants to tell you they knew Albert Pujols was going to be Albert Pujols, you're full of it. Unless you're some scout or something. But some fan back in 2001 when Albert bursts onto the scene, they're in the playoffs that year. He's hitting home runs against the Padres in the playoffs. Nobody knew that Albert Pujols, or rather that had been 2001, they played Arizona in the playoffs. But the point being in this is nobody knew that Albert Pujols was going to do any of that. But Jordan Walker, in an era of the internet and the era of Baseball America and Baseball Prospectus, and bless his heart, but nerds like BK who read those publications and tell them about all the stats to you, all these people hype these dudes up. Jordan Walker is truly the most overhyped Cardinal that I can remember. Name me a more overhyped Cardinal, because people are talking about Wong being overhyped. Yes, Wong is overhyped. Says Oscar Taveras was overhyped. He was overhyped as someone who could hold his liquor. I think they oversold him on that one. We'll never see the likes of Pujols in our lifetimes. Just got to accept that reality. Yes, well, it's totally because the game is different. It used to be that hitting mattered. Hitting for average mattered. Hitting for power, everything, all of it together mattered. Being a .330 career hitter, you will never see a situation where a player who spends the first 10 years of his career with a team is going to be a .330 average hitter. The worst season Pujols had here, he batted .298, and that was in his final year here when he was injured. We will never see that again because baseball is different. They've neutered baseball, and they've turned it into what it is now, which is you can bat .198, but if you hit 40 home runs, rock on. That used to be Adam Dunn. We used to go, who would want Adam Dunn? He just hits home runs and bats .190. Now everybody is Adam Dunn, and that's what they want. So the idea of dudes being overhyped and dudes being, yes, but we have more access to their info now. In 2001, there's not a bunch of people on the internet Googling Albert Pujols' numbers in Tulsa or wherever, or playing for the Billings Mustangs. Now that's everybody. Someone says Tyler Green. Tyler Green also had he had mental issues, right? He had anxiety. Was Tyler Green the anxiety guy?
That was
Adam Kennedy.
No, that was Khalil Green.
Who
they traded for from the Padres, and he was the one who had the mental health issues. By the way, talk about a guy who 15 years too early.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be a very different discussion, and the sport around him would be very different if he was playing now.
Who is the most overhyped Cardinal? Let's just say in the 2000s. Most overhyped, because someone says Colton Wong. That's where this all jumped off. I disagree.
Colby Rasmus.
Rasmus is
Brett
fair.
Wallace? He never came up. He never had a chance to fail. But I mean, you heard a lot about him, and they obviously used him as good trade bait.
And now some people it works out. I'm going back to Houston for this one. But one of the players that people said you could never trade for a pitcher to get you over the top was Kyle Tucker. And I made fun of those people. I'm like, why? Trade the guy. If you can get whomever, do it.
Somebody says J.D. Drew.
And they never traded him.
Common answer. J.D. Drew is going to be a really common answer because people hated J.D. Drew.
But J.D. Drew is hated literally everywhere. Go to Philly. You know who hates J.D. Drew? Philadelphia.
Somebody says Rick Ankiel.
Yeah,
it's an interesting way to look at it. That's a good way to look at it, yeah.
But but again,
I hate paper straw is a good one.
But he was one of the first games I remember coming to in the early 2000s. Me and my grandpa were at a game. It was the Cardinals, and I believe it was versus the Diamondbacks. And it was maybe Randy Johnson was pitching that night. I don't know. It might have been Randy Johnson. But I know that Rick Ankiel was pitching. And I think through 4 1/3 or 5 innings maybe, Ankiel had a no-hitter. And then the Cardinals went on to lose 17-2. It's just one of those weird games like that. But Ankiel was hyped as a pitcher, yes. Someone says Waka.
No,
Waka was great.
The guy won an NLCS MVP as a rookie, and then he almost went out and he almost closed out his rookie season by no-hitting a team at the end of September. I mean, no, Waka was that night. Waka.
And then there are guys that we overhype, but maybe it's kind of we overhyped them, but they weren't hyped up when they come up. Like Alan Craig. Alan Craig wasn't an overhyped guy, was he? I don't recall Alan Craig being the next big thing. But then he had a big year, and then he was kind of overvalued. Okay. All right, we'll get into it. Okay, I got to go. It's time for me. Pete Kozma. No one overhyped Pete Kozma. But don't forget, Pete Kozma has more big-time playoff hits than a lot of the dudes that you guys stroke every day. Let us not forget Game 5, Washington. The Wizard of Koz was born. All right, anyway, we got to go. See you guys later.